money, 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 money. For that money, 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 money. That money, 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 money. Niggas turn on their brother. For that money, 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 money. That money, 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 money.
Welcome back to the Anecdote Podcast with your hosts Ian Knowles and Mickey Brown.
Konnichiwa, senpai.
Today we want to talk about that digital gold, that green gold, and that gold.
All right.
So let's talk about gold. Like, I just want to know where the gold at. The gold standard, that is.
Oh, okay. So a lot of the gold obsession comes from like conspiracy theory circles.
Gold fever.
Yeah, you'll see them advertising gold during like those Ancient Alien shows, Jesse Ventura, stuff like that. It's huge with like the Doomsday Prepper guys. Here's one I'll pick on, right? There's like a saying amongst the Doomsday Preppers. If America goes to shit, there's only a couple things that'll still be worth money. Bullets, food, and gold. But why would gold be worth money in a zombie apocalypse? The fuck am I going to do with that? The bullets and food I see the argument for. The fuck am I going to do with gold? There's no utility to it.
I like the sound it makes when you clap two gold bars together.
Yeah. But so, there's also lots of weird conspiracies about why we went away from the gold standard. I'm not going to get into any of them. They're all stupid. The reason we went away from the gold standard was because after World War I, the economy was growing so fast that we couldn't mine gold fast enough to back the dollar anymore. That, enough trade was happening that basically, imagine that I want to sell a car so that I can use that money to buy a bunch of stuff for multiple people. Steak, milk, clothes. But the bank doesn't have any more dollar bills to give away because they're waiting on a shipment of gold to arrive. So many people are buying so many things so fast that the bank says, sorry, we ran out of money. You're going to have to wait until we dig up some more gold before we can give you any money. Meaning that the guy can't buy my car. Meaning that if I can't sell my car, I can't go and buy all the other stuff that I was going to buy with that money. And now the economy is being hurt because trade isn't happening.
So basically a flawless system.
Yeah. So that causes deflation, basically. The demand for money's going up, the supply's staying the same, or not. It's not keeping up with demand, meaning that the money is worth more and everything else is worth less. And that sounds like it's good, but it's actually bad, because if you want to know what deflation does, just look at the housing crash. If the price of everything keeps going down and the price of the dollar keeps going up, then people don't want to sell things because it's not worth much now, so what's the point in selling it? And also, people are too scared to buy things because, oh, well, the price will just go down more in the future, so I'll just wait longer. And then since nobody's doing any trade, the economy starts to suffer, and people start getting laid off, and so on. Gold couldn't keep up with the growth of the economy. We needed a type of currency that would keep up with the growth of the economy so that trade could continue to happen as much as possible. And that's when we switched over to fiat currency, where the economy itself is what backs the dollar. And now the U.S. economy is so massive that literally all of the gold on the entire planet couldn't back the U.S. dollar. That if we had every single drop of gold on the planet, including all of the gold that hasn't been mined yet, we still wouldn't have enough money to facilitate all of the trade that is happening right now. So it's pretty shit.
In conclusion,
no. Nice. They're going to think we rehearsed that.
We did not. So what about its relevancy as an investment? Should I buy some?
So for the past 30 years, gold has increased by a total of 335%. Whereas for the past 30 years, the Dow Jones average, which is just a way of tracking the stock market, that has increased by 1,255%. It's a lot more. And even bonds... Even bonds have gone up by 672%, which I talked in the previous episode about how I think that bonds are only good once you've already retired because of how much the stock market kicks the crap out of it. And gold is worse than bonds on its returns. But gold is good for diversification because the price of gold has no correlation with the price of stocks, bonds, and real estate.
What does it have? How does it correlate with butter in Bangladesh?
Oh yeah, butter production in Bangladesh? I don't know. That one's outside my area of expertise.
That's what I base all my investments on.
That's a good idea. The psychic that I phone in gave me some similar advice. My telephone psychic. So what that means is that the housing market could crash, the stock market could crash, bonds could even crash for some reason, the government defaults or whatever.
I'm just thinking about the commercial for over the phone fortune telling, but based entirely around like finances.
Should I buy gold?
Call me now for your shrimp farm reading.
But yeah, so
what kind of ROI do you think you're expecting, honey?
yeah.
Put all the stock in Miss Cleo's psychic phone reading.
So yeah, all these other markets could crash, and gold's going to do its own thing. Similarly, though, gold crashes all the time, just so people know. I've heard some people say, hey, gold always goes up. No, it crashes all the time, and sometimes it sinks for like decades.
It's just as malleable as any other market.
It's more volatile, really, because sometimes a gold recession can last a really long time. But because it just does its own thing, that does mean it is good for diversification. I would only recommend that you have some gold if you're super rich or you're super paranoid. And even then, I would keep it to a pretty small amount of your portfolio overall.
Are we going to have a separate, like, section for paranoia now? Like, it's just like, and that's why you should invest in index funds. And if you're really paranoid, you should build a small underground tunnel.
Yeah, I have two sets of advice. Either buy lots of index funds or stock up on ammunition.
Always have a flip side to every...
Yeah. Look, if you want to argue with me and say that you think that the end is near, well, if the end for the U.S. government anyways, but you think that Canada's going to be fine or Europe or something so you can take your gold there, then yeah, get some. But if you're thinking total doomsday, well, there's nowhere for you to take your gold. Who gives a shit when we're eating each other? There's got to be a place that still gives a crap about gold, you know? But yeah, it could be useful for diversification, but not as much as bonds are. And also just know that the more commercials you see for it, the more buzz there is, the less you should buy. I mean,
that means they have a lack of investment. They need to advertise for it.
Yeah, you got to ask yourself, why did somebody pay the money necessary to make a commercial trying to convince you to buy bonds if it was a good deal?
You know who doesn't need commercials? Index funds.
Yeah. Or think about how if you would have bought stock in Google before they blew up, you'd be super rich. But of course, how would you ever know to do that? Because there were a million other good companies you could have bought at the same time, and they never came back from the dot-com crash. So that's like gambling, right? Well, just think, did you ever see a commercial saying buy Google, buy Google? No, of course not. So why did some guy spend money to try and convince you to buy gold? Clearly, the value of it is up very high right now, and he wants you to buy it from him so he can sell while it's high. And he can also make the price go higher by artificially increasing the demand by advertising the hell out of it.
Yeah.
And that just kind of goes for anything. The more buzz you hear about a particular commodity or stock, the more you need to stay the hell away from it. Whenever there's those gold commercials during the Ancient Aliens shows and Jerry Springer and stuff, that means that there's lots of dummies out there that are going to be buying that shit as a result of that successful advertising, which means that this price becomes overinflated. You're buying high. The best time to buy gold is when you don't hear a damn peep about it. When you don't hear anybody talking about it.
Other than maybe the chagrin of people who were invested when they bought high.
Yeah, now they're crying.
Yeah.
But yeah, that's all I have to say about gold.
Okay, so we talked about physical gold. What about that digital gold?
You're talking about data mining Facebook users?
Yeah.
Because that's digital gold. Or are you talking about...
I was talking about photoshopping titties on yourself and...
selling it to people on Craigslist.
Yeah.
Or are you talking about Bitcoin?
Bitcoin.
All right.
All other cryptocurrencies.
Okay. Well, the first thing I want to say about Bitcoin is that as far as it goes as its usefulness for trade itself, there are other cryptocurrencies that are better from a technology standpoint. When Bitcoin got really expensive, it was almost impossible to buy or sell anything because the transactions were too slow. And I'm not going to get into the technical jargon behind why, But basically, there are other cryptocurrencies out there that have improved upon Bitcoin's technical aspects.
Buying and selling.
Yeah,
Trading.
and so they would actually make for a better currency when it comes to actually using it as a real currency instead of just a speculative stock that you're like a Beanie Baby situation, right? So because of that, I don't have a lot of faith in the future strength of Bitcoin because it's inferior technology.
Right.
Another thing that I see a lot is people will say Bitcoin's the future because look at all these things they're using blockchain for. Blockchain is this technology that Bitcoin's built on, and I'm not going to sit here and explain what it is. You can look that up on YouTube, but there's all kinds of new places that they're using it now. When people see these articles about how blockchain is being used in more things, they think that's a reason to buy Bitcoin, but it's not.
You're not investing in blockchain. You're investing in...
Yeah.
You're just buying fake money.
Yeah, exactly.
At a premium.
That would be like saying buy VCRs because electricity usage is going up. The only other thing I can say about Bitcoin is the more buzz you hear about it, the worse of an investment it is. 2 years ago, when the Bitcoin was booming and it was reaching its peak, I had all these random people coming up to me and asking me about it. And the first thing I could think, we work in manufacturing, so when some middle-aged guy with no retirement funds at all, even though the company offers them, but he doesn't invest in it because he doesn't believe in the stock market or something. He thinks it's all a scam.
If Jesus wanted me to have $1 million, I'd have $1 million, son.
Yeah. When that guy comes up to me and it says, should I buy Bitcoin? The answer is hell no. Because the fact that you know about it means it's too late. When your barber's talking to you about it, when your grandma's coming up to you and talking about it, yeah, you missed your shot. All the dummies in the world are buying it. And then, of course, as we already know, it crashed like hell.
Right. I mean, you could still buy it on a hard dip and hope that it comes back up, but that's all gambling.
Yeah, exactly. You're gambling.
I did gamble on some cryptocurrency, and I won, and then I stopped.
Yeah.
Like Ethereum. It was raising dramatically, and I got in pretty cheap, and I sold high. And then it slammed down.
Oh, yeah?
I got out a day before it crashed.
Yeah. That's just like with buying penny stocks, man. You're gambling there. It could crash now and crash forever because of what I mentioned already, the fact that there's superior types of cryptocurrencies out there. And therefore, the demand that this good has that drives up that price is all just based on speculation alone. There's no real utility to it. Whereas the price of a company that makes cars, for example, the price of a particular stock, people want cars. They make cars. This company is going to be worth something so long as they continue to make a thing that people want. That's not the case for Bitcoin, and that's why I call that gambling.
That's why we give it a big...
Wah, wah, wah.
God, can we be one of those shows? And I have a hunch about what you're going to say here, but been seeing a lot of advertisement for weed stocks, marijuana crop.
Yeah, well, right there. You keep seeing all these commercials for it. That's your first red flag. The real great investments that are about to boom, they don't have commercials, man. They're calling this the green rush, similar to the gold rush. And there's a story from the gold rush that I love.
Come on, partner, grab your pickaxe and let's head west.
Yeah. The guy who made the most money off of the gold rush didn't make his money from selling gold. He made his money from selling usable products to the gold miners. His most profitable product were pants. That man's name? Levi Strauss.
Oh!
So yeah, Levi. That came from a guy selling pants to the gold rushers. Weed is similar. If there was any money to be made, it's from selling things to these growers, like the hydroponic systems or something.
Yeah, my thought was like the irrigation, farm equipment. You'd see a huge spike in that.
Yeah. Overall, though, I would still recommend people just buy index funds.
Yeah.
Any of those companies that are going to benefit from the green rush, they're already a part of VTSAX. Because VTSAX is buying every single publicly traded company in America. So when you buy that, you're already buying stocks in whatever companies have stocks. I know that 70% of them are Canadian companies. But here's a specific example I looked up. So there's this company called Medbox. Their stock shot up 7,455% in one day.
Shit.
Yeah. But then guess what?
It went down 14,000.
It dropped 90%. Not 90 minus 7,000. 90% means that now there's only 10% of it left.
Yeah.
So was that a gold mine or was that a landmine? These stocks are skyrocketing due to all these stoners around America freaking out about it. But then they crash and burn just as quickly. The problem with the weed stocks right now, it's just like how I said that, when your grandma starts asking you about Bitcoin, it's too late. Well, there's all these stoners that are emotionally invested in the success of marijuana throughout the country. And these people who have never had any interest in investing ever now come up to me and start talking to me about stocks. Only because they're not interested in stocks, they're interested in weed and all things weed related. And so now those people are all buying this one type of stock and causing it to be very overvalued. And so I predict the weed stocks are going to crash and crash hard, especially since a lot of these stocks are for these small companies. As the big commercial growers get involved, whether it's the Canadian companies that are already involved in this.
They're going to start absorbing and boxing out.
Yeah, or tobacco companies, like these very large scale companies. They're going to
Philip Morris.
Yeah, they're going to come in, they're going to crush all these little guys. There already are people who have declared bankruptcy because they moved out west to try to start their own weed company. Every dumb high school dropout stoner out there thinks that, man, if they legalize weed, I'm going to open up a grow house and be a billionaire. But the barrier of entry is so low that there's millions of dudes just like you saying the same thing. Out in Colorado, a lot of those original growers ended up shutting down because so much competition flooded in around them. There's far too many people who have this big fantasy of, I'm going to become a bajillionaire now that weed's legal.
Mom, I'm going to move to Colorado and...
Yeah, and open up a greenhouse or whatever. Dude, there's an app. Did you hear about this? There's actually like a phone app just for buying weed stocks.
That's stupid.
Yeah, an app for a specific kind of
smart
stock.
for the app developer because it took them like an evening.
Yeah. I mean, come on, that's stupid, man. That makes no sense. When there's this much buzz and hype and insanity around something, stay the hell away from it. You want to invest in this stuff you don't hear anybody talking about, unless it's Vanguard. When was the last time they came on the news and started screaming at you to buy Vanguard index funds?
Right.
Never. And yet, remember, Warren Buffett said that once he dies, he wants 90% of his wealth to be put into a Vanguard index fund and 10% to be put into a bond index. So, should I follow Warren Buffett's example or the guy screaming at me on the infomercial in between episodes of Jerry Springer?
That's actually a tough one.
Yeah. Email us your thoughts on that, you guys. Let's see what you got to say.
Well, I guess that about answers all my questions I have about these buzzworthy niche stocks. Probably answers a lot of questions for some people who hear about it and so they think about it. What, in my opinion, this should do is something that is very noteworthy and is prominent in the news. Your grandma brings it up. That is irrelevant, but it should get you thinking about stocks and the right things to do. So in conclusion, just say no to the devil's lettuce, children. Don't forget to like us on all our social media. Go ahead and email us at our contact information on any of our social media sites. We will get back to you. And, we want to know what you guys think, what you guys want to hear more of, what are some things that you don't understand, how something really works, or whether or not it'd be profitable for your lifestyle.
That money, 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 money. For that money, 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 money. That money, 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 money. Niggas turn on it proper. For that money, 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 money. That money, 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 money.